Am I the a-hole for convincing my grandpa to kick out my aunt and refusing to help him change his mind back? I'm 19 male, so when it comes to family disputes, my opinions are usually brushed off in a let the adults handle this type of way. But for the first time, someone older than me took my advice. My grandfather and I are great friends. I'm closer to him than to anyone else in my family, but that's not to say I'm not close with my parents and siblings. Grandpa and I just kind of vibe. That's why he listens to what I say more than anyone in my family would expect him to. He took me out to lunch last week, as a grandfather does with his favorite grandchild, half joking. And he was ranting about his witch of a daughter and each of the epic fights they got into this past month. My aunt really is horrible. Trying to explain her whole dynamic would put me well over the 3,000 character limit. To give you an idea, 2 months ago at my sister's birthday dinner, she screamed at my dad to screw himself and waved a steak knife around. This was a nice restaurant where she was eating for free. There's also that time when my mom was pregnant with me and my eloquent aunt said, "I hope you freaking miscarry that turd in your C-word." I don't really know what else to say. This woman is mean. Anyways, talking with my mouth full of cheeseburger, I asked my grandpa, why haven't you kicked her out or at least started charging rent? He thought and said, "Yeah, my 54-year-old daughter can throw me a few hundred per month to live in my house." We laughed because my aunt is not a very agreeable person, and that conversation going down would be an event worth witnessing. We discussed and I convinced him to demand rent, and if she refused, to give her the boot. I wasn't present for the argument itself, but it went down as we expected. It was so bad that the neighbors called the cops. Only the third time that has happened. Anyways, most of my family is mad that I inserted myself into the situation. They see me as a little boy still whose opinion is irrelevant. Maybe they're right. I'm 19 and everyone else is 40 to 80. But I don't like watching my grandparents go through hell living with her, so I said what I said. But crap has hit the fan and now the entire family is divided. My grandpa has no intention of letting her back in, but my grandma wants him to. My mom is glad she's gone. Wonder why, right? And my dad doesn't like his sister very much, but he's worried all this drama will bite our family in the butt. There have been consequences. In-laws have revoked Christmas vacations that hadn't even been sent out yet, so we've pulled their Thanksgiving invitations. You get the gist. It's a whole mess. Now, people think if I talk to my grandpa, I can convince him to let her back in. They're probably right. I feel like I do have that influence. But so far, I've refused, because my grandpa's never been happier, and my grandma's starting to come around. Outside opinions, please. Now for the top comments. Not Day Hall. Dude, she's 54. Why the heck is she living with her parents? She is definitely jealous of your mom and probably has nothing better to do than stir up drama. You said what everyone was thinking, so don't feel bad about it. Oh yes, she's jealous. She's more jealous of my dad because he's her 6 years younger brother who's extremely successful and has a family of his own, while she slaves away at a job she hates. He has everything she can't have, and she's pissed about it. That being said, even my dad tolerates her for the sake of the family. The fact that her own brother and my father wants her back in their house is really what's making me question what's good for the whole family. Your father's advocating she go back to Grandpa, but I don't see him offering to take her in. It's funny that so many people seem to think you had no right to involve yourself in something that's not your business, while simultaneously doing the same. The only two people whose opinion matters here is Grandpa and Grandma. Grandpa's clearly got his mind made up, and it sounds like Grandma's starting to enjoy the fact that she's gone too. Not a-hole. You aren't a hypnotist, and your grandpa's all his mental faculties. You didn't make him do anything. You can't make him do it. Why does this awful woman have control over half the family? She's actually nice to most of my extended family. Her rage really shines only in her immediate family. Somehow, over the years, she has befriended everyone who doesn't share her blood. At age 54, after decades of not paying rent for her entire adult life because she lived with her parents, that aunt should have quite a lot in savings. What strikes me about the story is how your grandparents might be vulnerable to elder abuse. Not saying that's what was happening, but it certainly sounds like she was taking advantage of them. Not today, how if your grandparents are happier. It was their decision. The flying monkeys should butt out. She mistreats the hell out of them, but they fight back too. Both my grandma and grandpa grew up with very few families, so they have come to put family before everything, even when it defies all logic. It's taken a lot to get to this point, believe me. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for making my parents leave my house? I, 43 male, was finally able to purchase a neat 3 bedrooms, 2 baths house under my name for about 3 years now. Thankful for their support in order for me to live my best life, I agreed to let my parents move in with me after they decided to sell the smaller mobile home we previously lived in. However, one of the main boundaries I've set with them is that I did not want my sister, 40 female, Mackenzie, to enter my home. She and I had problems solving our fights and arguments growing up, which led to resentment, and we ultimately stopped speaking to each other by the time I graduated high school. I've tried to bury the hatchet numerous times in between, hoping that we could reach an understanding and get back in neutral terms, but Mackenzie never bothered to respond. So I left it at that, and minimized contact as well. If my parents wanted to see her, they would have to drive up to visit her themselves. I would drive them up there, or at the very least, they'd tell her to drop anything off in the driveway for them to pick up. But the biggest rule set was that she would not step into my house no matter what. By extension, this resulted in a distant relationship with my nephews/niece and brother-in-law, but I tried to be respectful when I happened to see them. Now, almost every other weekend, after policies lighten up and getting our vaccinations, I meet up with several of my long-term high school buddies and stay over at one of their places. Later that same evening I left, I realized I forgot to bring over some new wine that I bought for us all to share. And since we all lived a moderate distance from each other, I figured a 15-minute drive wouldn't kill me. But to my surprise, there's an extra car in my driveway. I recognized the license plate, and my heart dropped. I stormed into the house, and lo and behold, Mackenzie was here, and her children were playing with my dogs in the backyard. I was furious, and demanded my parents to explain why they allowed my sister to be inside. They reasoned that she was only in the dining room and wasn't doing anything wrong. I told Mackenzie to take her kids and leave, but not before she scoffed and called me a pathetic and selfish loner. My parents were mad at me for forcing Mackenzie to leave, but I argued that they broke the only single, most important boundary I asked of them. They said I was overreacting and that my house was also their shared space. They even said we were all still family, but I disagreed strongly with that statement because Mackenzie and I never solved our estranged relationship. I asked them if they had done this behind my back the times when I wasn't home, and they admitted to doing so. I felt overwhelmed and told them they were going to stay at Mackenzie's place for an indefinite amount of time. They apologized and told me to just get over it, but I refused. So they packed several of their belongings and I drove them up to my sister's house while getting an earful on the entire way there. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. You are justified in having this boundary, and it's your house. If they wanted to see your sister, they could either have objected when you made the boundary, rather than sneaking behind your back, or just not move in with you. If the parents believed the rule was inconsequential and unimportant, they wouldn't have sneaked. In my opinion, this demonstrates they did it knowing full well it was wrong and knowing it broke a boundary. Not the a-hole, at all. Not the a-hole. You might have to change your locks. Somehow your parents equated moving in with "we live here now, so it's our house too, so we can do what we want." That's not how it works. They apologized and told me to just get over it. Haha, that's not what an apology is. They're disrespectful. Not the a-hole. My house, my rules. If I let you live in my house, you do not have to like my rules. But you will comply with them or you won't live there anymore. You made one rule. They ignored it. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Not the a-hole. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my brother and his fiancée no? I recently moved in with my brother and his fiancée, trying to get my life back on track. They gave me a place to stay because I was in a new city with no money. Since then, I've bounced around a couple of jobs, and that has made paying bills a little difficult. But I managed to do so by getting a small loan from my mother. The job hunt was as much physical as it was digital. I was in several job finding sites all day putting in applications. When I wasn't on my phone, I was riding my bike for several miles around town putting in applications. When I got a job finally, I began work right away and worked as much as possible. The job pays weekly and rent was due soon. I communicated with my brother that I didn't know how much my check would be, and that I didn't know if it would be enough to cover my portion of the bills. Surprise, it wasn't. Thankfully, my mother lent me the rest of my rent. I make sure to let everyone in the house understand my situation. Fast forward 2 weeks and fiancé tells me there is an additional $700 charge added to rent and I have to pay 1/3 of it. After a couple questions, she explains to me that it's because their dogs have done severe damage to the house/yard and the landlord wants a new security deposit. A day later, I was mulling that over in my head and decided it was not fair for me to pay for the damages caused by their dogs. The damage was done prior to me living there and was caused by their pets. Heavily damaged doors and frames chewed up, blinds chewed to bits, the stench of the dog waste throughout the house, and air that had been ripped up. As I explained to them that I think it's unfair, then it happens. Fiancé tells me it doesn't matter. I live in her house and have to pay for the damages her dogs caused, and my brother won't even acknowledge me. I firmly state that I disagree and that I won't be paying. She smiles and says, "You can't even pay rent. You get mommy to pay it for you. Pay me or I'll kick you out." I retort, "Yes, I'm in debt to her, not you. Go ahead and kick me out." Cast a glance to my brother who is just sitting and staring at me without a word to say. She says, "Okay, you're out." Am I the a-hole for not agreeing to pay for damages? Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. The dog's damage has nothing to do with you. Unfortunately, sounds like you will need to find a new place to live, but hopefully you won't have to deal with such nonsense and passive-aggressive behavior. You've done nothing wrong. Not only is it not Opie's problem, but it sounds like Opie's paying rent to live in a dump. Even the landlord is trying to be proactive about the obvious damage in his building. I wouldn't be surprised if his rent payment was inflated too. If they're comfortable being that blatant and taking advantage of him, what's to stop them from telling him that his share of bills is $100 or $200 higher than it actually should be? Not the a-hole. They were basically trying to use you to pay for their screw-ups. Also, I don't know your relationship with your mother, but when you're stable in your finances, I'd go pretty big for her next birthday/Mother's Day. She sounds like a very reliable person. She's a great mom and a great friend. Love her to the moon and back, and I do as much for her as I can. Not the a-hole. You shouldn't have to pay that. You're only renting the space where you sleep pretty much, right? Not the entire apartment. That is not your responsibility. The fiancé is just being a witch. But the problem is that now they're kicking you out. Either find your own place or go with your mom. Last story is titled, "Am I the a-hole for cutting off my housemate's internet when he refused to pay for it?" I've 25 male been living with my housemate 24 male for a little over a year now, and I've known him since college. We pay our rent separately to our landlord, and this place is great. Like, the only monthly expenses other than the rent is a cell phone bill, internet bill, and of course food, as the electricity and water are covered by the landlord. I don't know how or why, but I'm not complaining. He is a pretty chill landlord. He's retired and I get the sense that he just doesn't care anymore. My housemates and I agreed to split the cost of the internet bill, so we pay roughly $50 each. Or at least it should be that way. But a couple of months back, he decided he didn't want to pay his share of the internet, because I actually pay less than him in rent. Again, I don't know why, but I pay about $40 less than him. It's been an ongoing issue, but I'm not okay with him just not paying his share of the internet, especially for such a flimsy reason. The other day, I asked him again for the total amount he owed, which by this time was $150, and he told me to buzz off. I'm tired of you constantly nagging me. You save a ton with rent. Can't you help me out a little? $40 in rent difference, and this shoved a stick so far up his butt he doesn't want to give me my money? Fine. So I said, okay, logged into my router settings, and disconnected all of his devices, and changed the password. I just did not give a crap anymore. He came demanding I turn the internet back on. I told him no, unless he gave me the money owed. He started begging and said he had a meeting today that was really important. So I said, must not be that important if $150 is too much for you to give me for internet. You have your phone, hotspot from that. He left after that. Now there's so much tension in the house. Enough where I can cut it with a knife. Then he went off and complained to mutual friends. And a lot of them took his side in saying that I'm not a good friend, and that I should be blackmailing him like this. And I told him that I don't give a crap. If he wants to play games for a $40 rent discrepancy, I'm down to play games. And unless he gives me now $200 for messing with me, I'm not letting him use my internet. Now a few took my side saying the dude is a mooch and was just itching to find any way to save any amount of money. So I'm turning to you all. Am I the a-hole? Sorry for the overall tone of the post, but I'm pissed. Not the a-hole. Seems like he's just used to getting what he wants, and you gave him a wake-up call. Stand your ground and get your money. You're not his parent, you don't have to pay his bills. Especially if you let it add up to this amount without having a talk with you first if you needed help. At first he said, I'll get you the money ASAP, or can you wait until my next pay? To eventually what was described above in the post. And I'm just here, feeling I have egg on my face for letting it go so long. Everyone has their breaking point. This is a classic case of mistaking kindness for weakness, and your roommate is learning that the hard way. Not the a-hole. It gets shut off if he was paying the ISP directly. Just because he's a friend doesn't mean he can play by different rules than everyone else. Yes, but his underlying motivation, after the initial song and dance, for not paying, is because OP pays $40 less in rent, apparently. That analogy doesn't really work. Not the a-hole. Your rent is completely separate from your internet service. He agreed to pay half and hasn't been doing that. Your mistake was in allowing him to go 2 months without paying. If your roommate has a problem with the difference in rental charges, he should take it up with the landlord. Definitely feels like I have egg on my face now for letting 2 months go by. Housemate. I don't want to pay for my share of the internet. OP shuts off his internet access. Housemate. Surprise Pikachu face. Not the a-hole. You got yourself a mooch on your hands, my dude. Rent should be completely separate from shared bills. Also, where do you live? If you're in GTA, I'll be your roommate in a heartbeat if all I had to do was give you $50 and pay rent. Y'all are blessed to find such a place. Am I the a-hole for throwing out my husband's dinner after he went to eat at his mom's house? My mother-in-law calls every night to ask what we're having for dinner. Then she brags about what she's cooking to make me look bad, especially for getting takeout. I used to care, but not anymore. But my husband would ask me to make dinner, only for him to go eat the dinner his mom makes at her home, which is 10 minutes away, and using the "that's my favorite meal" excuse. Yesterday, I wanted to surprise him by cooking one of his favorite meals, and although I was busy, I took time off work to cook. I even went grocery shopping to get what I needed. Later, as I was setting the table, his mom called. I told him he didn't have to answer, but he did. And like usual, she asked what we were having, but acted surprised that I cooked this meal. She then went on to tell him she cooked X meal and told him to come over. He said okay, which shocked me. I said, seriously? As he started dressing up getting ready to leave. He told me no offense, but this meal that his mom cooked was even more of a favorite than the one I cooked, and grabbed his keys and left. I felt awful. I took his plate and threw it out, then ate my portion. As I was about to put the plate in the dishwasher, he got home looking angry, saying his mom lied about cooking that favorite meal and used it as an excuse to force him to eat dinner with her. I was shocked, but he sat down telling me to go ahead and reheat dinner. I told him no dinner after he abandoned it. I threw it out. He said, what? And I told him he disrespected my time and effort and chose to go eat with his mom instead. He began yelling at me, asking if I really did that. Then called me petty and horrible, then went upstairs saying what I did was 100 times worse than what his mom did. I definitely feel like I let my anger and frustrations get the best of me, but it really felt unbearable having to live like this for so long. By the way, I'm 26 and he's 28. Edited to add to make one thing clear, and that's the fact that my husband only does this when it comes to food. He lived with his mom, attended community college, and loved and still loves her food and is used to it. She gave me recipes to make and I tried to do that, but he keeps switching homes just to eat what he feels like. Now for the top comments. Not stay home. Why in the world is he telling you to go heat dinner? Did a T-Rex attack him and eats his arms on the way back from his mom's? Did he try to catch a piano falling from the sky so it didn't land on a child playing and all his fingers are broke? Did he anger a forest fairy and she cursed him and now he has 2 sets of legs instead of hands? Or is that him waving a huge red flag? These are all good theories, but have you considered that her husband may actually be a stray cat enchanted to appear human? That would explain why he wanders from house to house asking to be fed, and then picks and chooses from what's offered. If you're gonna keep a stray cat, don't forget to neuter him. Not stay home. Your husband can either commit to eating at home with you, tell you well before dinner that he's eating with his mom, or he can make his own meals. Until he starts regularly making a choice to be home or go with enough time for you to plan and prep your cooking, cook enough for only you. He's on his own. Edited to add, I wasn't going to say it because I feel it's obvious, but I can't help myself. This is much larger of an issue than dinner time. There is a profound lack of respect in your relationship. Husband needs to snip the apron strings at the very least, but really needs to spend some serious time thinking about what the marriage and partnership actually means. Not stay home. You didn't make him lick the empty plate, did you? I say you were restrained. My mother-in-law was an award-winning Southern chef. My husband is a chef. My son is a chef. I cook well, but I'm not a chef. Not one of them has ever disrespected my cooking. People who are genuinely good at something and confident in their abilities don't usually feel the need to put others down. This is a million times over. Talent isn't afraid of other people's interests and ability. Also, not stay home. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for my reasons of no plus ones on my wedding, causing several people not to attend? I'm getting married, and like every other bride, I too have certain rules I want for my wedding to go smoothly. One of them is the no plus ones rule. Only people named in the invitation are invited. The criteria I have for people who will get to bring their partners are 1. Both me and my fiancé know of your partner and have met them. If I know your partner and my fiancé doesn't, that disqualifies them and vice versa. 2. If I'd personally go to dinner with you and your partner. 3. If I'd invite your partner as a separate person anyway and not just because they're your partner. 4. If your partner is also a friend of mine. Those who meet that criteria get to bring their partners. If they don't, then they don't bring them. Simple. That also includes long-term relationships, engaged couple, and married couples as well. We know it might seem harsh, but those are the rules we've decided to set so we can be more comfortable. It has nothing to do with budget or venue capacity. Purely our choice. Several people have denied the invitation to our wedding due to these rules. One of them is also my cousin. My cousin has been engaged to this girl for 1 year now, and he was upset we didn't include her. The reason she was excluded was because my fiancé hasn't met her, and she's not a person I'd personally be friends with either. I told my cousin how heartbroken I am that he will not come to the wedding due to this, and I expressed my distaste for the fact that he can't be away from his fiancé for a few hours to honor me and my fiancé. Couples don't have to be together the whole time. Then he basically told me I'm being extremely disrespectful and a huge a-hole. I asked him to explain, and he said word for word, "Let me get this clear. You want me to come to honor you to your wedding, honor your love story and all that, but you can't respect me enough to invite my fiancé? I can be without my fiancé for several hours. Heck, we can even spend days apart on vacations with our own separate friend groups sometimes. What bothers me is not being away from my fiancé for some hours, but the fact that you excluded her for those reasons." I told him those are the rules. Take it or leave it. He says he finds my rules extremely disrespectful, but since it's my wedding, he has no say in it. I told him good, and to stop BSing me then and show his support and respect by attending. He said that while he respects my extremely exclusive and disrespectful rules, I'm a fool to believe that he will care more about valuing my wedding over his fiancé. Am I the a-hole? You're the a-hole for guilt-tripping your cousin and anyone else you try to pull this crap with. Your wedding, your rules. But people are allowed to not attend for not liking your rules. Suck it up. Right? The girl is literally pending their own wedding, family. I hope he's probably not getting an invitation to theirs either. Haha, you're the a-hole. And she'll have the audacity to wonder why and think her cousin is being a jerk. She's the a-hole for sure. Only OP appears to be able to have rules. The cousin's rule is to not attend weddings where he can't bring his fiancé, which I find to be totally reasonable. Opie doesn't believe others are allowed to be upset with her rules, but she's allowed to be upset with others' rules. You're the a-hole. You want people to come celebrate your marriage and your relationship by asking them to leave their spouse or long-term partner at home? You are misusing the word +1. That is intended for truly single people. Established couples are to be treated as a unit. Sure, your wedding and your rules and all that BS. But if you create BS rules like this, you have to expect people to decline. If I had a relative tell me my spouse wasn't invited because circumstances hadn't allowed the two of them to meet yet, I decline too. Agreed. And an invitation is just that, an invitation, and not a summon. If people RSVP declining to come, they can decline for any reason, absurd rules or not. Personally, I would decline in an instant if my significant other, dating, engaged, married, or otherwise, was not invited. Expect the same respect for your new marriage as you've shown those other long-term relationships. You're the a-hole. Yep, Opie gonna be real pissed in the future when her spouse is not invited to family gatherings, but she did it to herself. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not reading my ex-friend's essay about everything wrong with me? Recently, a friend, 32 female of 9 years Hawaii, 27 female considered one of my good friends, texted me completely out of the blue saying that she didn't want to come to my wedding or be my friend anymore. Some backstory. I knew the friendship was fading but had just assumed we would slowly go our separate ways. Over the past few years, I have often gone to her house to comfort her about everything that went wrong in her life, including things she really had a choice in changing. Example, she didn't counter offer enough at her job before signing the contract. Her new boyfriend snores and then she yells at him. Her new e-scooter's battery is too heavy to get to her great new job, etc. In contrast, in the past few years, my two parents have had 3 cancer diagnoses between them. And my sister died, and anytime I try to talk to her about this, she just changed the subject. Anyway, this all happened 3 days after coming to my apartment, laughing, chatting, and exchanging gifts and books. When she was at my house, the only moment that seemed to upset her is when I asked her if she wanted to help organize my bachelorette party. She said she felt she wouldn't do a good job. I said I didn't really care and wasn't sure if I wanted one anyway, and it could just be drinks and a movie at my place, if that. She was a bit cagey about it, but at no point said no. Perhaps I could have picked up on this. But also, I think if you don't want to do something, just tell me. So a few days later, I get this long text saying he didn't want to be my friend anymore or come to my wedding. I was obviously upset because any rejection feels like garbage, and I tried to call her to discuss it, but she wouldn't pick up. She said we should take time to let it sink in. I was still upset, but just decided to give her some time. After a day or two, I realized that anyone who would act like she did with no explanation wasn't someone I wanted to be friends with anyway. 5 days later, she messages to say she has written an essay on all her issues with me that I won't like. Also, that it is too big to send by WhatsApp, frequently used in Europe for texting, so she will email it to me? This was accompanied by a lot of smiley emojis and friendly exclamation marks. I told her not to send the essay because I wouldn't read it as I no longer wanted anything to do with her, and I blocked her on WhatsApp. She then sent me green texts telling me I wouldn't grow if I didn't read this essay and that I was selfish. I then blocked her and everything. I'm sure I wasn't fully in the right, but the way she dealt with this whole situation seems completely wild to me. Am I the a-hole for not reading her letter? Now for the comments. The fact that this person thinks it's appropriate to send you an essay detailing everything they think is wrong with you tells me that you're not a problem here. Not the a-hole. But how will she ever grow as a human unless she reads the essay? Maybe she decides to grow as a mildly annoyed duck. Who are you to decide her career? Yeah, you're not the a-hole. Your friend has ended this and now seems to be telling you you're the problem? I wouldn't want to hear it either, so you're completely correct to ask for it not to be sent. People like that seem to believe they are better than everyone else and are never to blame for anything. In my experience, they usually are the main cause of most issues and actually have very warped sense of self and the world around them. She sounds jealous of you and is trying to rain on your parade. Not stay home. Not stay home. Friends don't need to break up with long dramatic text messages or essays. They can just stop hanging out. If she just wants drama, she can go watch Netflix or something instead. Absolutely this. I've always had way more respect for the friend that just slowly distanced herself from me until I got a hint than I do for the friend who chewed me out aggressively for 5 minutes and then tried to be like, I'm happy to see you around and be civil though. Last story. Am I the a-hole for saying I'll drop out as a groomsman over my sister's wedding if she includes our mom's ex? My mom and I raised my younger sisters and I, now 24 female, 26 female, and 32 male, mostly alone. When we were really young, there were some POS boyfriends including my bio dad, but when we were 0, 2, and 8, she moved us to a new town and started fresh, just a single mom. But when we were 8, 10, and 16, her boyfriend/partner Henry also moved in with us part-time and eventually full-time. We had an okay relationship with Henry. He was fine, but we weren't close. After high school, I enlisted, and when we were 12, 14, and 20, he cheated and they broke up. He then married a woman he cheated with 0.001 seconds later. My mom was devastated, especially because she didn't date much to begin with, because she'd had bad experiences in the past. I really thought he was one of the good ones. He was the first guy she'd taken a chance with in a decade. Post-divorce fallout, Henry did keep in touch, but I didn't really respond. My middle sister did though. She would still talk to Henry. My mom knew and hated it, but didn't stop it. And Henry and his wife would reward her for it by buying her things my mom couldn't afford to buy for her, like a new MacBook, and even letting him give her a bit of money for her college tuition. He offered it to all three of us, but she's the only one who accepted. Now, sister is getting married, and my mom, as promised years ago, gave her a budget of $10,000 for her wedding. She had already told me in private that Henry and his wife would be in attendance, and I guessed they'd given her money as well, even though she was telling my mom that she/significant other were covering the rest. She told me officially today that they were giving her $10,000 as well, and the wedding budget is $16,000, so she'll get to keep what she doesn't spend. She told me that she wanted my support in breaking this to our mom at some point before the wedding, and that at the actual wedding, she wanted to acknowledge Henry/his wife in their thank you speeches, and have Henry at the head table. Her husband is estranged from his family, so the seating would go left to right. Her 3 bridesmaids, our mom, her, the groom, Henry, the 3 groomsmen. I said that she could do what she wanted, but that I thought it was embarrassing for our mom, especially in front of our extended family. She got upset, and I finally said, look, if you want this so bad, fine, but I'm not sitting at the same table as him then, so I guess you'll be down a groomsman. She said, you're not going to go, and I said I'll go. I'm just not willing to sit 2 seats down from the guy who cheated on our mom, and who you only like because he buys you things. She got even more upset, and called me names on the phone and later over text. Our youngest sister refuses to get involved, and just wants us to get along. She's never taken money from him, but she's also one of those people who hates people spending money on her, so she hasn't taken money from anyone else either. Not stay home. She's choosing to hurt your mom for money. I wouldn't stand up for her either. I don't care if the wild speculators are right about her choosing the cheater over the innocent victim, because he's the only father figure in her life, and she's actually choosing to hurt her mom for her dad, not just for money. Her mom being the only mother figure in her life doesn't seem to mean anything to her. Not stay home. I wouldn't go either, and I hope your mom doesn't. Not stay home. Your sister needs to woman up here. If she wants a relationship with Henry, or at least Henry's money, so be it. But she can't compel the rest of you to be on board with that. And she certainly isn't going to be able to do it by hiding the truth. So tell her to tell mom on her own, before you need to give her a heads up that she's going to be sharing a table with her cheating ex and his affair partner. I'd prefer it if she hid it by not putting him at head table and thanking him in private. It's hurtful to our mom. But she is telling her. That's why she called me. She was telling me first, but planning to tell her soon. Normally she/we just hide stuff like this. Your sister is a self-absorbed, selfish prick. Not gonna lie, I kinda hope karma gets her and she has a similar life to her mom. where her own kids choose money over the person who single-handedly raised them. Praying for karma against her. I personally would be no contact with someone like your sister. If she could do this to her own mother, I can only imagine what she can do to others. First story is titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my boyfriend's co-worker that we're not married? I've been with boyfriend for about 5 years and we live together. He does not want to get married, which I'm fine with now, but it was a point of contention early in our relationship. Boyfriend was talking to a co-worker on Zoom when I brought him some coffee. Co-worker said something like, "So, this is the lovely wife I've heard so much about." I said something like, "Thanks, but we're not married." He said, "Oh, boyfriend always calls you his wife," and then introduced himself. I introduced myself, then ended the conversation and left as quickly as I could while still being polite because both boyfriend and co-worker were giving me a weird vibe. A little while later, boyfriend came out of the office and asked, "What was that?" I didn't know what he meant, so I asked what was what. Boyfriend then said that there was absolutely no need for me to correct co-worker, and that it's better if people think I'm his wife. I said I'm not his wife. I'm his girlfriend, and he never told me that he told other people that I'm his wife. This somehow becomes an argument, with my side being that boyfriend never told me that his co-workers think we're married. And boyfriend's side being that I should have figured that being called his wife indicated that co-worker thought I was his wife, and I shouldn't have corrected him. And when I said I thought he just made an assumption, boyfriend said that wasn't the point. The point was that there was no need to correct him, that it was rude, and that it makes boyfriend look like a douche. He then said that the solution to this is that when he next has a video call with co-worker, he wants me to come in again, strike up a conversation, and say that I was messing with him, and that boyfriend is actually husband, and us not being married is an inside joke I thought co-worker was in on. I then said that was the dumbest freaking plan he'd ever come up with, and no freaking way am I doing that. And he said I was being an a-hole, that I got him into this, and now I have to bail him out. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. That is so shady, and it feels like there is a lot more going on. If you're not married, he doesn't get the perks, and that includes calling you his wife. I wonder if he's lying to take advantage of this discriminatory information that shows that married men make more money than single ones. Edit, not endorsing that. Yeah, I'm also wondering about FMLA. Promotions looking good to upper management. Hell no, not an a-hole. Why is he calling you his wife and he doesn't marry you? That seems kind of stupid. Having a wife is a leg up in a lot of professional contexts. It gives the impression you're dependable, settled, a family man, more than if you were just casually dating around. OP's boyfriend wants the societal benefits of marriage among his co-workers without the commitment. P.S. OP did not marry this schmuck. Not an a-hole. That would be the stupidest inside joke in history. If your husband, is adamant in calling you his wife, why doesn't he propose? Lol, considering your long history too. That would be the stupidest inside joke in history. Exactly what I said. I can't imagine getting on the thing with co-worker and being like, "Yeah, I jokingly act like we're not married," and acting like that's just a normal thing to do. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for still attending a wedding after my wife's miscarriage? My wife miscarried our baby a week ago. She's absolutely besides herself. I was very upset as well. But at the same time, I know that it was obviously not meant to be, especially when it happened so early in the pregnancy before anybody could really form an attachment. My dad is kind of a character in my family. In our entire extended family, everybody else is off average or slightly below average income, while my dad got lucky when he was in his 30s and has made a lot of money. He's 67 right now. Him and my mom divorced when they were both 35, and he's been with my stepmother, 49 female, for 20 years before they divorced 2 years ago. Around Christmas, my wife and I got an invitation to his wedding ceremony with his new fiancée who is 25 and pregnant. My wife initially didn't want to go and was very against it. She had become close to my stepmother and my half-siblings from my stepmother, and said she thinks my dad is trash. I was able to convince her to, reluctantly, agree to attending because the ceremony was only 20 people in total, and my dad would definitely feel it if even one person didn't attend. Before the holidays, I was told my hours at work would be cut. My dad usually doesn't give handouts, but he has offered to help me out and has sent money even though I didn't explicitly ask. After my wife miscarried and I brought up the wedding, she said she wasn't going to drive 4 hours to see my dad, and that she once again only feels bad for my ex-stepmother who has reached out to offer her condolences while my dad hasn't. I asked if she still feels sick, and she has insisted she's physically okay, but I'm never going to get over it. So I kept asking why she didn't feel well enough to attend the wedding. And she said because she wants to be alone with just her and me and just be in each other's companies. She begged me not to leave her for the weekend. I intended to stay at my dad's house. I finally get annoyed because I felt like she was talking about the baby as if it were still here, and told her that the baby would never be a living entity and burying herself in covers wouldn't make it any better. I ended up packing my stuff and attending my dad's wedding. Am I the a-hole? My wife and I had a phone conversation right after the wedding ceremony, where she accused me of doing it for my dad's financial support and said she'd take on personal debt before she accepts money from my dad. Now for the top comments. That the baby would never be a living entity and burying herself in covers wouldn't make it any better. Jesus Christ, do you seriously have to ask if you were an a-hole? You were worse than an a-hole. You were heartless and cruel to your wife. You're the a-hole. Exactly this. I can't think of a better way of wording it than this. OP is honestly the most disgusting poster I've seen for a long while. Stay at your disgusting father's house. Forever. You're the a-hole. An astoundingly selfish, self-righteous, heartless a-hole. Enjoy your divorce. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. OP, you're the a-hole. You're the a-hole. Not so much for wanting to go to the wedding, but I felt like she was talking about the baby as if it were still here and told her that the baby would never be a living entity, and burying herself in covers wouldn't make it any better. Dude, the mere fact that you're calling it a baby means that you don't get to sweep this loss under the rug and demand that everything go back to normal in a schedule that's convenient for you. Your wife is hurting. Physically, even if she wasn't very far along and didn't need more than a checkup. Pregnancy hormones don't go away immediately just because there's no longer a pregnancy. Mentally and emotionally. You don't have to just stand there and nod your head if she wants to badmouth your dad, but you need to do a way better job of supporting her through the grieving process. Next story. Am I the a-hole for taking vacation and leaving my husband with every single house duty there is for 4 days? My husband and I have been together for 8 years, recently married, 15 months ago. We have a 4-year-old son. For the past 3 years, I have worked from home. Such a godsend. 12-hour shifts 4 days a week. It's a struggle because my husband gets home from work at 1 a.m. and takes 2 to 3 hours to unwind, so he doesn't get to bed until maybe 3 or 4 a.m. and sleeps basically all day until he has to leave for work. On his days off, he spends that with me and our son, obviously, but I have noticed that as time goes on, he does less and less around the house. Before this, he would make dinner on his days off, take care of all of son's needs and do basic cleaning so that I could have a breather. Now he doesn't make dinner at all, falls asleep on the couch by 7, so I have son duty 24/7 and hasn't lifted a finger to clean in weeks. So on my 3 days off a week, I end up having to deep clean my entire house because I don't have time to do anything on my work days aside from the bare minimum. 2 weeks ago, I asked him for some help. He happily obliged for all of 30 minutes before taking off to go help a buddy with his car, and didn't do jack squat after returning home because he was tired. I needed a break. I told him this. His way of comforting me was by hugging me and saying, "You're doing such a good job." Didn't offer to help or anything. So I made a plan, asked my mom to take my son for 4 days, and planned a vacation for myself with work. I dropped my son off yesterday with my mom. I only did this because my husband obviously works, and took off to our cabin 58 miles away to relax. My husband started texting me last night asking where I was. I told him the cabin. He asked where our son was, so I told him. He then started going off about how this is selfish of me, and that if he had realized I wasn't merely stressed out, that he would have helped out more. Used the argument that he too is stressed out and tired. He claims my communication on the issue was terrible and that I could have been more open and laid it out. Says that I'm an a-hole for taking a vacation without him because he could have used it too. But the thing is, I straight out told him I needed a break. I asked him for help, he disregarded it all. But now I'm curious if I'm an a-hole. Edited to add, our conversations went exactly as I wrote them above. So maybe I was lacking in the communication department. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. I'm so sick and tired of people saying Opie sucks too for not communicating. But who tells her what needs to be done around the house or how to take care of a child? Does husband not have eyes? Can he not see what needs to be cleaned, tidied, or cooked? Does he not know his child's needs? If he did before, maybe this 4-day vacation without a child to care for or a wife to clean up after him opened his eyes. Amen. Do these people think women are born knowing how to clean? That we have magical powers that allow us to spot dust? Men see these things. They just assume someone else will take care of it. Plus, it's exhausting to have to tell someone that is supposed to be a partner what you need help with as if they were a child. Not a-hole. Ask my mom to take my son for 4 days. I was all ready to give you not a-hole, even assuming you were leaving your husband to work out to care for his son. He could have used it too. He has a house to himself, with no wife nor child to worry about. How is he not also getting a vacation? Your last sentence got me too. The fact that he sees a week alone at home as a punishment rather than a treat is very telling. Everyone sucks here, but man am I on your side. I absolutely see why you needed a break, and you even went above and beyond to find a babysitter. But man, just disappearing for 4 days like that is not okay. I'm not saying you should have invited him with, but it's just basic communication to tell your spouse where you and his child are before vanishing for days. So, not a-hole for taking the vacation, but everyone sucks here because you literally just left. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my husband to stop using my vehicle? My 34 female, husband 36 male, has a long history of buying himself nice things and expecting everyone else in the family, we have 2 kids, to only have very cheap and/or hand-me-downs. For example, he buys himself the newest iPhone when they come out, and he gives me his old one. When he wants to read a book, he buys the digital book, audiobook, and physical copy, so he can read however he wants whenever he wants. But when my kids want to do activities, I have to save and find ways to pay for them, sometimes out of things like bonuses I make at work. Recently, I found out my husband racked up $70,000 in credit card debt, so I took over our finances to try to do whatever I could to pull us out of debt. Also note, I am the breadwinner. Over the year, I work approximately twice as many hours as him and make over twice as much money. I don't care a lot about that, but I really feel like our money should be more equal than me supporting his habits. I really hate materialism, which is why this has gone on for so long, but I'm so tired of how unequal it all seems. So here's the am I the a-hole part. Every time we have purchased a new vehicle since we have been married, my husband picks it out and he gets to drive the new vehicle and I get the older one. The last time this happened, we agreed that the next new-to-us vehicle would be mine. About 9 months ago, he got into an accident and totaled our car. Like he agreed, I got to pick out the replacement vehicle and we said it was mine. It's even only in my name. Since the day we brought the newest vehicle home, he keeps taking it everywhere. He drives it to work, he takes it shopping, etc. I explained this frustrates me because he removed my items from the vehicle, leaves trash in it, and he takes it when I need it too. This has continued for 9 months. It was recently such a big mess that he had to clean it all out before I could use it again. I finally said he needs to stop using it as his primary vehicle. It's supposed to be my primary vehicle. He thought it was a joke and made more jokes about it today. I finally told him that he just needs to stop using it and needs to ask me for permission to use it. He seems to think this is ridiculous, but has reluctantly agreed. Am I the a-hole? Edit. I know this is not the biggest issue, and I've been taking a lot of steps to resolve the other issues, especially finances. At this time, I now have complete control of our finances. He has also agreed to this. The financial situation is a long story/issue in itself. I know I'm not an a-hole in the financial situation. I was just asking about the specific situation since in the US, vehicles are marital assets. Now for the top comments. Not an a-hole. After racking up 70,000 in debt without telling anyone, he needs consequences. Take away any spare keys to that car so he can't use it anymore. He needs to learn and understand financial health. And that's when you hurt your family by secretly racking up 70,000 in debt, you lose your privileges to new and nice things. And he's not treating the new car in a way that would keep it nice. Plus, it's in your name only. It's only your car. You buy expensive things, you treat them well so they last. Time to give him all the hand-me-downs and make sure it doesn't have any more secret credit cards. Watch your, and especially his, credit report. In case he decides to open up a new card or a new account somewhere without telling you, you will need access to his. This is one thing I'm nervous about. I check my credit report weekly. He will not give me access to his. I need to see if I can legally obtain it without his permission, but I'm thinking I can't. Update: I discussed this with him more this evening and he agreed to give me access to his credit report. Not a hole, and he definitely is. Start taking the keys when he gets home and putting them someplace only you know so you can drive the car. I know the go-to on this sub is immediately saying, divorce him, which I won't say, but seriously consider if this is someone you want to be tied to for a long time. When will he start putting your kids and family first? 70,000 in credit card debt could be the great addition to college funds, retirement fund, take family vacations, house renovations. He only thinks for himself, clearly. Do you want to be tied to that further? I understand your point. This is something I've definitely been weighing. He's made some improvements since we analyzed the debt, which is the only reason I stuck around after finding that out.
Update: 10 years ago, my girlfriend abandoned me and our 5-year-old daughter. Now she wants her family back. Original post. My story begins 16 years ago when I met Lucy. She was an amazing girl, intelligent, beautiful, fancy, funny, just the greatest girl I ever met. I felt so lucky when we start dating, and after a year into the relationship, we had a baby. I was living the dream, living with my girlfriend, raising our little daughter, being a happy family. I loved Lucy so much, and after some years, we were finally getting married. Our daughter was the most excited one about the wedding. She was going to be the flower girl. Everything seemed to be perfect, until one day when I was heading back home, a guy wanted to talk with me. At first, I believed he may want to sell me something, until he mentioned Lucy. Politely, he asked me to talk in a private place. He then asked me to please stop everything about the wedding and step back, because he and Lucy wanted to be together. I didn't believe him until he started to tell me a lot of details about her that would be impossible to know. I returned home as fast as I could. I didn't want this to be truth and told her about it, hoping it was all a mistake. But no, it wasn't. The next hour she told me everything. She has been cheating on me for the last 2 years. She told me about how all the times she said she loved me, that she wanted us to be together and she loved our family, were all lies. How her new man was younger, stronger, handsome, and a better lover. She said that she didn't want to be tied to me, how she lost her freedom for being a mother. That she didn't want to be a wife, that she wanted her freedom back. The final stab was when she said she was happy that I finally knew, and now she was able to leave. I cried, begged, humiliated myself and got on my knees, asking for another chance to try fix our relationship, but she didn't want to. She wanted the thrill and excitement that this new guy makes her feel. By the next day, she left us. I felt broken, humiliated, emasculated. But my daughter needed me. She was heartbroken too. Her mother left, and she believed it was her fault because she heard when Lucy said she didn't want to be a mother anymore. She needed me, and I needed to be strong for her. Fortunately, we had help. My family and Lucy's family supported us in any way possible. Her parents were so ashamed for their daughter's actions that they couldn't look me in the eye without apologizing for everything she did. I will be in debt to everyone forever for all their help. Fast forward 10 years later. After lots of time and therapy, my daughter and I are living happy. She is the light of my life, a beautiful 15-year-old lady who I love. Our wounds are healed and we have a very good life. But then she came back. When me and my daughter were getting back home, we found Lucy in front of our apartment, waiting for us and wanting to talk. I recognize her immediately, and I would like to say that I did something cool, like ignoring her, asking her to leave, or at least be hostile to her. But no, I'm an idiot. My heart skipped a beat in the moment I saw her. She still was beautiful as before, but somehow she looked even better. Maybe the age make her look mature and elegant, maybe the dress, or the makeup. I don't know, but I let her in, while our daughter gave us some space and went to her room. She told me everything she did since she left. Basically, she lived with that guy for some years. She said how much she enjoyed it, all the fun she got, and how she believed those were the best years of her life, until she noticed that the excitement of that new relationship was fading slowly. At some point, she started to cheat on that guy too. According to her, she just wanted to feel alive and excited. Eventually, that relationship ended, and she started dating other guys. Every relationship became shorter than the previous one, until she only had casual hookups. She also said that sometimes she thought about us, our family, but she said she was too proud to admit she made a mistake, until last year. She got COVID and it hit her really hard, to the point that she believed she would die, and realized how alone she was, how stupid she was, and the mistake she made so long ago. After all of that, she said she regretted everything she did and said, and now she was ready to marry me, and be the family we always meant to be. When she was done, I asked her to leave, to give me some time to think. She accepted, saying she would be back the next day. For years I dreamed about her coming back, and now it was happening. But it just felt wrong. Since then, she visits almost daily, wanting to talk about the best years of our relationship, and how we could be a happy family again. I asked for help from my family and friends. Most of them said I would be making the worst mistake of my life if I take her back, while others said that I could give her a chance. It took me a lot to heal, and some more time to start making new relationships, and I would be risking everything. One night, my daughter and I had a deep conversation about all this. I always try to involve her in every decision I make for us, and this issue concerned her too, because it's her mother. Sometimes she surprises me being so wise and mature, because she asked me, "Can you really love someone that hurt us so much?" And that was everything I needed. I would never forgive myself if I let her hurt my daughter again, and I told Lucy that. If she wants to be around, or have a relationship with our daughter, I'm okay with it, only if my daughter wants it. But I told her we are not getting back together. Lucy only said that she would make me fall in love with her again, and that she would not give up. Now for the top advice before reading the update. I would love to stay updated on this forever lol. What was Lucy's parents' reaction to hearing about her coming back? Also, did they ever talk about you at all with her, or did she just leave the family in general and ghosted people? She ghosted everyone when she left. Her parents were always on my side, and both are amazing grandparents. When they knew she was back, her mother didn't want to see her, and her father told her, with lots of details, how she is a shame on all of us, and the disappointment she ended up being. She had the best years of her life without you and your daughter. To me that says everything. There's no regret there. Be proud of yourself, you put in the hard work, and raised an amazing daughter. Find someone worthy of that. Your ex ain't it. She hasn't changed at all. She intentionally blindsided them to get her way, even though she knew it wasn't what was best for his child. She completely ignores his boundaries, and shows up every day trying to re-spark feelings after explicitly being told no. Lucy still only cares about herself. She will hurt them again, because they never really mattered, not like she matters. Ugh. Yeah, if the best years of her life are now over, she thinks she can slink back into the comfy spot of settling for stability, and a devoted slave with a cute kid. She blindsided OP on purpose, and got halfway to the exact response she was after. And watch her lay on the charm and affection thick with the daughter, because she thinks OP is now playing hard to get, and making their child adore her will make OP adore her. Here's the thing, if everything worked out the way she dreamed with this first guy she left with, would she even be seeking a relationship with your kid? No, she wouldn't. Think of all the pivotal moments in your daughter's life she missed to go fool around. Remember that. Remember that pain that she caused. She wants security. That's it. Exactly this OP. She even told you she believed her time running away from her responsibilities as a parent were the best years of her life, and that it wasn't until she was about to die and realized how freaking alone she was that she regretted leaving you. She doesn't regret not getting married. She doesn't regret abandoning her child. She definitely doesn't regret leaving you, since she was already cheating on you for 2 years of your relationship. She regrets the fact that her choices had consequences, and the consequences were that she would most likely die alone. Like she deserves. Take care of yourself and your wonderful daughter. And now for the update. I didn't expect so many answers, so thanks to everyone for your answers and advice. Thanks to the ones who made me open my eyes and helped me realize I still have issues with my ex and I'm not over her yet, and especially to the ones who pointed the risk of hurting my daughter if we let her back in our lives. I can recognize my weakness, but I'm not letting her hurt my baby again. So don't worry, I'm not getting back with her. Since the post, she had been insisting on meeting, she wanted to talk. I decided to have one last talk with her and set my boundaries. We met in a public place. The talk was long and hard, I wanted her to be honest, and I told her the moment I caught a lie I was leaving. I asked if she was really sorry, or are we her last option? Did she really love us, or are we just a consolation prize? Did she came back for love, or because she was unable to find another man anymore? She was unable to answer any of that. She only said things like, "It's not like that. You need to understand me. I'm not like this anymore." She kept insisting on giving her another chance, that we can love each other again, that we could be together. She never even mentioned our daughter at any moment. Only after I pointed it she started to mention her. When I tried to settle that we were over, she grabbed my hand, and as some of you told me she would do, she tried to seduce me, pulling down her blouse, showing me her cleavage, and saying we can find a room, so I can do whatever I want with her, that she wouldn't say no to anything to compensate me. I didn't recognize that woman. She wasn't the amazing girl I met, she wasn't the mother of my daughter. I didn't know who that woman was, but she wasn't my Lucy. I told her to let me go, that we were over. Neither I nor my daughter wanted anything to do with her, so please leave us alone. We were living a good life without her. She then went mad, saying I couldn't leave her. That it wasn't my choice, that she doesn't have anything else. That I can't take away her daughter. I still don't know why, but that last sentence triggered me. The next are not my exact words, but are close of what I said in that moment. Your daughter. Your daughter. You are not her mother. You only gave birth to her, but you are not her mother. Tell me, where were you when she was sick? Where were you when she had fever? When she was scared at night? When her first teeth fell? When she cried at night because she missed her mom? Where were you on her first day of school? When she had her first period? When she had her first boyfriend? When her heart broke for the second time? Because the first one who broke her heart was her mother. Which trunk were you riding when she needed a mom? You have no right to claim you are her mother because you never acted like that. She tried to reply, but saw that she was unable to find the words. I just left her. When I got back home, she sent me some texts asking for another meeting, for another chance. That she loves me and she can change. But I'm done. You all were right, she doesn't love me or our daughter at all, she only loves herself. Having her on my life would be bad and toxic. I don't need that. I don't need her. My daughter and I are going back to therapy soon. Some of you are right, I need to work on myself. Be stronger and get over those feelings for her. Because they're not real, just memories of what I thought she was. I'm really proud of you, friend. I know it was a hard decision, but it was definitely the correct one. I can't even imagine the heartache your daughter would have if you had let her mom come home. She would have a literal front row seat to see how little her mom cares about her. Thanks. I'm not letting that happen. Her wellness will always come first. Also proud of you, bro. Your baby has all the parents she needs with you. All the right choices. This woman is empty and soulless and would just leech off the both of you. Sometimes Redditors can sound harsh in their comments, especially when we say leave them. But it's really because we hate seeing good people get played by bad ones. You, sir, are good. Your daughter sounds like a wise girl. You don't need anyone bringing unnecessary negativity into the life you worked so hard to achieve. Best of luck. Damn. I don't want to downplay your situation, but this part right here made me want to grab some popcorn. You are the freaking man, OP. You are a tremendous father, and I'm glad you did what had to be done and said what had to be said to protect not only yourself, but your daughter. I truly hope you can both find peace after this and never have to deal with this atrocious woman ever again. Big hugs from me to both of you. I think I released some anger I didn't know I had. Man, it must have felt so good to say that. The situation is messed up, but I feel like that moment is a fantastic moment for some real closure. Yes, it felt good. Now for the last story. I, male 29, girlfriend female 29, wants to get back together after dumping me. Girlfriend and I started dating in college 6 years ago. Up to just a few weeks ago, everything was smooth sailing, when out of the blue she broke up with me. The explanation I got was that she wanted to move to Canada and live with her family, while being single and alone. For like a whole week, I thought she was joking, until she packed her bags and actually left. No text or anything from her after that. She also removed me from all her socials. Fast forward to last Saturday, 2 weeks after she left, she sent me a follow request on my socials and a text that she wanted to talk. We hopped on a call where she told me she has made a mistake and wanted to rekindle and move back to New York City and live with me. Throughout the call, I was silent because I had no words, as I was still hurting. I told her that this isn't a game and that I need some time to think about it. She didn't take this well and accused me of trying to ruin her life with her. She told me that she is going to call my mom if I don't give her a chance. Her tone wasn't demanding or condescending or anything. It was obvious she was hurt too. As much as I love her, I know this is not how partners act, and I haven't done anything to deserve this. How do you just stand up and leave one day? She called my mom and some very close friends, and they are on her side. My mom went as far as telling them that if I dated someone else, she would never accept my new partner. I don't like the fact that out of all these people, no one gives a damn about how I feel. So some things I would like an opinion on. Advice regarding if I should take her back. If so, do I tell her that I have slept with someone we both know? I feel like if I was in her place, I would want the answer to this one, maybe or maybe not. Now for the advice. No, you don't take her back. She left you. She ghosted you for 2 weeks. Then, when whatever was in Canada didn't work out, she doesn't beg you to take her back, she demands it. And then she somehow twists the narrative so that you are the one who ruined the relationship. Then she runs to your mom. What's that about? I think you need to call your mom and explain, in small words and short sentences, that this girl left you because she wanted to be single. She didn't come back because she loves you, she came back because she was lonely. Tell your mom you can't make a life with someone who's perfectly happy to walk out when she gets restless. You can't trust her again. Remind your mom that you're her son, and your well-being should be foremost in her mind. Rather than talking to your mom in small words, tell her how it is. If your own mother can't back you up, I would not take the girl back and have a serious conversation with your mother and ask her WTF in my opinion. Sorry dude, but she probably left because a promising new relationship back home was presented to her, and after it didn't work out, she demands her spot that she willingly left back in your life. Move on and don't let her back in. She left and it was her final decision, so she should keep it final. Well, this is what everyone else here thinks as well. I can't say if it's true or not, but either way, I won't call her back. She went and did what or who she wanted in Canada, and because the grass wasn't as green as she thought, now she wants to come back. Do not take this narcissist back. It's all about her. Tell your mom she is wrong to take this girl's side over her own kid. You need new friends as well. This chick is a user, narcissist, and a schemer. She will do anything to get her way. I'm sure if you look back over your relationship with her, you will see all the signs. Be free. Don't let her railroad her way back into your life. Do you take care of her? For her to just pack up and leave and now wanting to come back, does she have a job? For the last 8 months, she was unemployed, so yeah, she was living off me. Before that, she had a nice job, but was let go when the company she worked for restructured. Edit. Thank you everyone. I think I just needed to hear what I already knew. It's not worth taking her back. I deserve better. I also realized that the title and story mentions her as my girlfriend. I meant ex.